President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a new government push to curb alcohol use in the country, which will impact both consumers and producers of these products. Speaking at his 2026 State of the Nation address, Ramaphosa said the state was forging ahead with several interventions, with many more on the way. More on this, we are now joined by Ntimane, convener of the National Traders. Good to have you, Lucky, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, when the president says there are a number of interventions, what does he really mean?
I bet it's the president that's best placed to respond to that, but we appreciate that the issue is being put on the table for us to discuss. Because we have said that, the issue of alcohol abuse in the country is something that we cannot afford to sweep under the carpet. It's something that we need to approach, but also we need to be sensitive to how we engage on it, because in our economy that's growing at less than 1%, we cannot afford to have interventions that will have an impact on job losses. So we do, however, welcome that there are interventions that we want to implement, but they should be done in consultation with the alcohol industry, but also they should be sensical in a way that it supports job growth, but also supports the township economy, that process.
So since 2020, I mean, you would have come here several times and on many occasions, and you would have told us about the intervention that the industry itself is putting in place in terms of education, in terms of going around. There was a roadshow, in fact, that you were doing on raising awareness on alcohol abuse. Is the president saying these efforts are not nearly enough? I mean, considering, of course, the impact, particularly on the gender-based violence side, the impact on contact crimes. We got the numbers coming out yesterday.
So we have, as an industry, I mean, two vehicles that are instituted precisely to deal with issues of irresponsible usage of alcohol. On the other hand, we've got aware.org, I mean, which focuses on the fetal alcohol syndrome, for example, as well as other issues that fall within the space of alcohol abuse. But also we have SAB Sharp, which is an organization within the South African breweries, which also focuses on similar things. So the industry has spent millions behind some of those initiatives that are aimed solely to deal with the issues of irresponsible usage of alcohol. But also we as liquor traders have taken a stand to ensure that we provide safe spaces for our customers who come into our establishment so that they enjoy themselves, but also that they drink alcohol in a safe environment. But our traders also in that commitment is to ensure that we sell alcohol in a responsible way, following all the regulations that pertains to how we obtain our liquor license in that process.
So there's a safety, there's a crime aspect, but there's also a health aspect, which I believe the president highlighted in the 2026 State of the Nation address, flagging excessive alcohol consumption as a major contributor to child stunting in South Africa. So there's what you call excessive alcohol consumption, and I suppose it's a word that you hear quite often. And for you as a trader, what is excessive? And for the president, what is excessive?
Yeah, look, it's like we've said, I mean, we respect the authority of the state in wanting to find a solution to the issues that we experience as a country. But also need to look at the underlying issues that give rise to why people will binge on alcohol, because we look at excessive as referring to binge drinking, which we know is a problem in the country, but it's isolated. And what we have seen is that the way issues are addressed, is to almost take a small issue and make it big, and then now start rallying around that small issue. Whereas we should actually focus on those that are selling alcohol in a responsible way and those that are drinking alcohol in a responsible way. And in this instance, I would like to bring in some of the suggestions that were made by the president around the minimum unit pricing. That is not going to solve our issues. In anything, is going to ensure that people have access to alcohol that is cheaper, but that is not legal. So that is going to boost the counterfeit and illicit alcohol. Because what it calls for is to say that the cheapest alcohol must now be expensive. So meaning that our people will not have access to a cheaper legal product. Hence, they will turn into a market that has grown by 55% in the past 7 years. So this is something that we cannot afford. But also the issue of excess duties. We're saying to the president, maybe it's about time that we hold everything and then have a discussion in terms of what are the acceptable increases that are going to ensure that we support the industry, but also support the job growth prospects that reside within the alcohol industry.
Let's talk about that a little bit. The president says, let's make alcohol expensive so that people don't have access. So make unit price a little bit more expensive. You're saying, well, that is going to open up a trade where in the black market where people will go and get this. Now, is there no way where these two can exist together, where you raise the unit prices as a way of discouraging people from over-consuming, and yet on the other end, be able to police the entrance of these products in the black market?
I think what we're not talking about is that there is actually a policing to that minimum unit pricing which government does not have the resources to. There's an administrative cost to managing the minimum unit pricing. But also what you are doing in the process, you are punishing those that drink alcohol in a responsible manner in South Africa as a way of trying to bring in a health initiative, which we believe is not going to achieve anything. Also, if you increase the price via the excise duty, what you are doing is that everyone then finds alcohol expensive, and they look at other channels, which in this case would be the illicit and counterfeit of alcohol, which now accounts to almost over 20% of the legal market. In rand terms, that's over 20 billion rand. So this is something that we cannot afford, propping up an illegal institution ahead of the legal market, which are paying their dues in tax and VAT in our country. So it's something that we need to actually find the right balance. We do admit that we have those rotten apples in our midst, either liquor traders or even consumers who are not following the law, who are not drinking in a responsible manner. But what we're saying is that let's find a solution together to ensure that we address this issue that we have managed as a country to put under the carpet. We are willing to engage with government. We're willing to engage with the Minister of Health, Minister of Finance, to ensure that we find long-lasting solutions. But the blunt object by way of minimum unit pricing as well as excise duty is not going to be the solution for our country.
We'll move away from that. I mean, we've got this conversation which we've heard with you as well. Restrict trading hours. And it seems there is a challenge with policing that. There are lots of proposals that have been put in place. Restrict trading hours. What's the challenge?
So we don't determine as liquor traders when we apply for our licenses what time we want to close. So we are guided by the liquor laws that are the preserve of government institutions. So I think government, if they are considering changing those, I mean, we need to engage and look at what are the reasons for doing that, but also what economic impact will that have on our trading environment. So we are not, saying that we don't want to listen to any solution that's going to help the country move forward, that's going to help the country deal with the issues of, responsible usage of alcohol. But we're saying that we should be done in a consultative forum. Liquor traders are willing and ready to help government fight the issues that that the president has highlighted, in terms of how we work together to ensure that we fight crime, but also that we fight other social ills in our country that may not also be part of alcohol, but might be other issues such as drugs, illegal firearms. So I'm ready, to work with government.
I think the last time we spoke about it, if my memory serves me well, there was an MEC in Limpopo who was trying to enforce this restriction in terms of trading hours, and the MEC getting a lot of pushback from
and it's not in his job, so he lost his job. So I think it's very important that these MECs and ministers also listen to the people on the ground when they make the right noises, because we don't come here to defend the indefensible, but we come here to protect the industry that's the preserve of black people, as it were. I mean, we know in the township now we only have the taxis and taverns that truly belong to the black people. So we protect that space, and we'll do anything it takes to ensure that we protect that. So some of these rules and that come from provinces, because if you look at the liquor laws in South Africa, we have 9 different liquor laws, because each and every province has got its own liquor law. But we have found that there are certain MECs. Now we have an issue in the Northwest where they've increased the amount that's payable for renewal of the license by more than 100%. That is unacceptable, and we're going to take that on. So we are saying to our government, listen to us. We want the same thing that you want, a healthy and safe South Africa, but it cannot be done in isolation by government only. We also need to sit on a table when decisions are made that have an impact on our ability to feed our families.
When we speak of the licensing regime, has there been a conversation around the table? I mean, since 2020, when we were seeing the lockdowns, and there was a conversation about, for example, the density of liquor trading operations in one area. For example, if you would look at one suburb, you will have 20, in a very small radius. And you did indicate at that time that there should be a science to this in how this whole thing is actually done and how it is approached. But not like anybody can wake up tomorrow and say, well, I'm opening a liquor outlet, another one tomorrow, I'm opening a liquor outlet. How is that conversation going?
I think taverns or tavern owners will be the first to say that they will support the regulation around that, so that you do not have 5 taverns on one street. But that's also the work of government. That's the preserve of government to ensure that they don't issue licenses in one congested area. But you also need to look at this proposal in terms of, is it targeted at black people? Is it targeted at township business owners? Because if you look at Cape Town as an example, Cape Town waterfront has got more liquor licenses than Khayelitsha, for example. So is there a problem at the waterfront, or is the problem in Khayelitsha? So we need to be careful when we address the issue of density as well, as to what are the realities. We have seen the mushrooming of shopping malls and in our townships, and all of those come with the retailers, which we as traders we cannot compete with. So when we raise an issue of density, we must not only focus on taverns, but we must also look at these capitalist organizations that are also coming and placing their outlets in our environment as well.
So it now becomes a political or ideological debate more than it is about what the president is trying to curb here in terms of alcohol.
We're trying to protect our ability to put food on the table, and we'll do whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah, and so from here, what are you suggesting should be happening in terms of course, filling the gap? Because what is currently happening is that, yes, you've got a fetal alcohol syndrome that is continuing, and there is no way of arresting that. You've got these violent crimes that emanate fights after the consumption of alcohol. You've got gender-based violence that emanates, in most instances, the police tell us, after a consumption of alcohol, and arguments ensue. So these are there. There's this gap that needs to be addressed, and the president always has got to face people who are saying, well, what are you doing? Are you doing something? Is there anything you're doing about it?
And we take ownership of that gap, because we understand that not all violent crimes in South Africa could be linked to alcohol usage. But for what it's worth, and the percentages that belong to us, we are taking responsibility of it. Hence, you have the existence of SAB Sharp, you have the existence of Our.org, and you have the existence of National Liquor Traders and other various big organizations in the country, like National Hospitality and Traders Association in Soweto, as well as the Consent Liquor Traders in Pretoria. So some of these organizations are also engaged in ensuring that they run programs within the liquor trading environment to ensure that we are able to find solutions to addressing the issue of alcohol abuse in our country. This is something that we cannot run away from. And if you call us to come to studio to account, we're always going to make ourselves available, because we have a duty to this country to ensure that alcohol does not appear in each and every highlight that has to do with societal ills in our country.
Ntimane, much appreciated, and thank you very much for coming on. That's Ntimane, their convener for the National Liquor Trade.